Perfect timing. That's it.
Got a theme song.
Listen. Listen to the name of the song. It's coming up right here.
Fire. That used to be the theme song of, I think, the Trump TV show, The Apprentice. And now that we've violated some sort of copyright, we might get banned on YouTube now. But that's okay. No, I don't care.
Yeah, we'll be shut down in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Actually, as long as it's less than a minute, we're okay.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, less than a minute.
It's fire.
If we're on for less than a minute for that music,
sure,
that's the threshold.
Okay.
For
less than a minute.
Fair use.
Because it's fire.
Yeah, that probably was less than a minute.
It was probably fire.
Okay. That's nice. So that's gonna be our theme song. Is that for today?
At least today, huh?
What's on fire?
We're gonna see if
what
we
burn down.
What we burn down is.
We are gonna get to, I guess, some sort of reprisal on last week's, a little addendum, because we've got some feedback on the Beth Moore conversation we had, and some of the talk about that. I won't say from anybody in particular.
Well, thank you for the feedback. Fantastic.
So we're going to give a chance to address it, especially Ward Crocker, because his was the most critiqued.
He was.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm saying it anyway.
Yes.
So, because it certainly could have been mine. So anything
it could never have been mine.
So clearly it
had to be Ward.
Logic dictates.
There's not a whole lot of options here.
Can I say this though?
So before we get into that,
I don't want to get into it. We'll see if it comes up.
Okay, but before we get into recasting our argument, just kind of for clarifying an opportunity to do that based on the fiery criticism, the fire that we've gone under fire this last week.
Hey, just one thing before you start.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You have to move your book so it can be seen in the picture. I mean, the newest thesis that you've written needs to be.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah. I'll bring it up.
Or you can actually put it behind my head.
I actually was pleased. This has nothing to do with the show. I'm just going to pull up my bound thesis here, and the whole time.
Here we go.
Every time you talk, just sort of just know that like that.
Well, this is really nice. It looks excellent, and I love the paper. I'm glad it's not cheap paper.
Yeah, some people to do cheap
They
paper.
always tend to.
I did a higher quality. Well, they say
because it's higher quality scholarship goes with higher quality paper.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
The higher one
If you throw a rock in a pack of dogs, the one who gets hit, they squeak.
Corey, I don't think we meant you specifically.
We didn't really talk about you,
Are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling like
Are you feeling scorched?
If the paper quality matches.
If the paper cut hurts.
Yeah, the paper cuts on these feel much nicer because of the higher quality.
There you go.
Yeah. But they say, if you're willing to compromise on the paper quality, you're clearly willing to compromise on the scholarship. Everybody says that. That's like
it makes sense to me.
Who doesn't say that?
Yeah.
I've heard that since I was a little child. So
I'm going to go home and tell my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old right now.
Yeah.
That's lesson number one.
Lesson in life. Before you look at any thesis, feel the quality of the paper.
That's right.
If it's just the standard, copier paper.
If it's I don't know, maybe we could name that. Is there a name we could give for that level?
We could call it the Corey level.
Oh! Funny that would come up. Oh.
No, I wasn't going to go there.
The Corey standard.
Oh.
We need to have Corey on the show. Come on.
Yeah, he's going to be on one of these days.
We need to have him on the show so people can see why we talk so.
We just had like a picture of him sitting here.
I know. I was going to get like a big fat head and put it back there or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe we can mount it on the wall.
Throw that there.
Like every time he said, that'd be great. I think he would actually appreciate that.
He probably would.
He would actually appreciate that. One day we'll have him on the show. But for right now, the mystery of does he exist? Is he a romance?
Is he
nobody even knows. Unless they're around here.
Could be this unnamed, just a figment of our imagination.
The guy we make up is the foil.
Speaking of figments of imagination, I hear he wrote a thesis.
Yeah, he did. But I'm not reading because it's on low picture quality. But anyway, so, all right. So enough of that.
I did
Corey,
read his
I
thesis,
still love
by the
you.
way. It was very good.
I know. I actually have. I haven't actually read it. I want to actually get a chance to read it.
It was good.
Because I've heard it's good things.
Yep.
But it's from one of my monitors. But it I've actually heard it.
Yep.
As always, he puts out quality.
There you go.
You can clip just that part out later, Corey, and just use that.
It's like
You can skip everything else.
Take it. It's like nothing else coming your way.
Yeah.
No.
over and over again.
So that little bit of drums aside, before we get into the revisiting some of the Beth Moore stuff, I know there's issues with that have come about after that with Paige Patterson and the Southeastern Baptist.
Southwestern.
Or South, I always get the name wrong. All these Baptist seminaries. I even have the official thing on here. But I get confused geographically which one's where. Some people are dyslexic. I'm school dyslexic. But so we might get into that a little bit. But did you have a different story you wanted to lead with, or was that enough?
Oh, I just wanted to curious. We were, as parents, we work on motivating our kids.
Yes.
Right. So, and motivation is very important. And it's just a little something here, but I think motivation is very, very important. Well, what ways have you used or seen used to motivate kids to, like sometimes when you motivate to have a bed and go to church? What have you seen as motivating factor to go to church? What are some
to get them out of bed?
Yeah, get them out. Come on, we got to go to church. We got to bed.
And there you stick their hand in the warm cup of water.
Well, that's a good one.
That's not.
Well, it could be. I mean, I don't know.
That was summer camp. Sorry, that wasn't.
Pouring cold water on them while they're asleep all the time.
Oh, you know what? I can't sleep with cold.
Yeah, that works all the time.
Welcome to parenting tips.
Yeah,
special off the cuff.
Or spanking.
That works. I cannot endorse corporal punishment in this day and age.
You cannot.
I cannot.
Not publicly.
The board might testify.
Well, this lady came up with a different way.
Okay, so
To motivate
a better parenting tip.
Well, I'll leave the quality of the parenting tip up to your.
It is a parenting tip.
It is a parenting tip. Okay. Where for Easter she wanted to wake her son up for church service on Easter. Of course, Easter is the one of the two times that most people go, but she probably. But
my friend calls them submarine Christians.
At least she was very committed.
We call them C&E Christmas and Easter.
There you go. Right. And if they show up just on Easter, and they says, "Hey, Pastor, you're in a rut. You can preach about the same thing every time you show up, right?"
That's why I don't come more often. I always have the same
yeah, exactly. Expand a little bit. I might be here more. Well, she came up with a new one for Easter, and I appreciate the fact that she wants her son, motivated to go to church. But she decided to tase him.
Oh no! How old was the kid?
17.
17. Oh well.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, he didn't get tased. He's 17.
To wake him up for Easter church services on Easter Sunday.
Jesus wants you there.
Oh. I'm not sure on the. Isn't that just?
That is fairly.
I'm not sure what the mental process is where you go through.
It was just punishment. It was just
to where you go from.
God loves you, wants you to be at church.
Yeah.
I'm about to tase you.
Okay, we're going to get you out of bed this way.
That's not.
So.
Not something.
That will come up.
Yeah.
After he passed out. So,
she's 40. He's 17. Taser's son's left leg.
On the left leg.
Yeah. She only sparked the taser and didn't actually use it on her son, claims. But at the same time, apparently she kind of used it on him. I don't know. I just thought that'd be a fun fact.
Speaking of culturally inappropriate things, see that transition?
Yes.
That was lovely.
I like that.
Speaking of culturally inappropriate actions, now we can get to the women and.
Are you saying?
Abuse and what? No, I mean, well, before we even get into Paige Patterson stuff,
I meant to read
some of it was,
yeah.
Going through comments he made in the past, and some people argue, well, maybe that was just a different standard that day.
Let's introduce the issue.
I don't even. Before we go into that, though, as I'm saying, let's revisit our little commentary last week on Beth Moore. So we spent the whole show talking about her sort of open letter to her Christian brothers, and some of the things she had encountered in those relationships. And so one of the critiques was, one of the criticisms was that we sort of too quickly dismissed the validity of what she was saying because we brought up that there's larger issues than just say the women versus man issues. That there's issues we can even as men say yes, this happens to us in those situations because some of it's more of a power and control thing. And that these people that do it would do it whether they're women or not, they're just power kind of hungry people and corrupted by that. But some of that was seen as dismissive to the actual unique circumstances that some of them face. So do you guys feel like you want to redress the importance of that or your thoughts based on that feedback that you've gotten directly or that you've read about or heard?
I think that what we did was we looked at the issue and then went to not made a specific point about her issue, but the root problem of it. And it can seem like we glossed over it, but we didn't. We actually went to the root problem of it and then dealt with the root problem of it. I know that some people would feel better if we dealt with that singular issue, but I don't know that. I don't know that that is bad.
As far as some of the great lengths that we went to in the video saying that these things are sin, they are wrong, they aren't endorsed, they are a problem, they are real, and expounded on examples that we're familiar with as well of these kinds of things happening, both, I think, to women, but also to men. I guess I understand. I guess I don't really understand why it looks like it's dismissive. We're just not. Everyone else is addressing that issue. A lot of people are, and yes, it's a legitimate issue to address. My take is our point was yes, it has to be addressed, but not at the expense of not one expense of the other. There's a more fundamental underlying issue going on, and if we just keep it at one level, we keep the division. We don't have a solution. We make it into a his versus hers. It does get worked out into a his versus hers, but it's more fundamental than that. All of us, all people, have a problem. How are we going to address that? And I felt like Beth Moore had an opportunity. She had there's no
Allegation.
Yeah, no allegation here. Nothing negative on. She dealt with things, but she could have also dealt with it. She had up to a little bit, I want to say a higher level or more. Take women to look. Men are sinners. Yes, these are wrong. We can deal with these and resolve conflict. How are you going to do that? And, as one person said, resolving conflict, but also dealing with the actual substance of the issue going on. Don't make it just a his her game. Mm-hmm. Don't fall into that trap.
I think that. Well,
I think it's a trap. My feedback on that, real quick, before you go back to that. So I think there's a couple things that I thought about this to remember. One is, as the show says, we're off the cuff. So we were just sort of reading through her statement section by section, but it wasn't any effort to be systematic in our approach to what was a woman-specific issue and what was a man, maybe an issue that, yes, that happened to her, but could also be, happen regardless of sexual, male or female. And so I think if watching the whole show, we did, I think, address all of the issues. And I think trying to be pretty validate the legitimacy of what she was talking about. But those are legitimate things that women go through at the hands of men who are mistreating them, and it's wrong, whether it classifies as abusive or misogyny or just, sin. Or, there's could be maybe levels depending on what the issue is or what the circumstance is. So we didn't do it systematically. Right. This is the first thing. So that the people have to remember that we're not trying to deal with it as in a what's the first or what's the most important.
It's not as if someone has given us a list of questions like weeks ago that we could have worked through, and then all of a sudden.
And that's exactly the other thing. It's conversational. So we're trying to approach this. We're working out some of it as we go in terms of how should we respond. What's the right way to respond? And so some of us will say stuff and we'll think about it later. Say, I see that after Leroy's comment. I think that's a better way to say it. And so we're not trying to come onto this having fully thought out every issue, which is why we're trying to give stuff to one another that we haven't really necessarily read fully, but we're trying to get those initial impressions. And inviting you guys, everybody watching, into a conversation about this, where you can post on Facebook and we'll try to address those questions. So I think that's the part of it. It's not systematic and it is conversational. We have to keep in mind that as we approach any of these things, and the third thing, we're just guys. So
and that's
we
a
can't
context.
fully validate everything she said. We can say, yes, it's valid, but we can't, we didn't experience it, so there's a limit to what we can actually address firsthand in that. So we are bringing it to something we can understand as guys. So I don't think that's a defect of the show or
No.
guys. It's just that's going to be our
It's
Even how we deal with it is going to be different. First of all, we're going to be we're not in the issue. We're going to be a little more circumspect than the person who is right in the midst of the issues, whose focus is very narrow on that issue. And then secondly, we're probably going to process it a lot differently than a person who is experiencing it in that way, because we're experiencing it, but not exactly like you said, in the same way. I mean, we're going when people slight me, which is a rare thing, because I'm totally unslighted. But when people children, that's children. When people slight me, my first tendency is not to get angry.
We've been actually in a restaurant.
Yes.
Where there was sort of this feel, and we talked about at the table, that the waiter was sort of like looking at you like, they're giving you the eye because, you were a black man in the restaurant, maybe didn't fit. So we actually had a certain, he's like, "Did you see what that thing?" And you didn't get angry about that. I mean, I was probably a little more turbine than you were.
I guess the thing for me is, I'm 50 some odd years old. I grew up with that my whole life. And I've always processed it through the fact that these are people who have their own issues. And I'm not going to let their issues be my issues.
Yeah.
So, but that allows me also to deal with them in a way probably that they don't deserve, which is to have more grace than in that situation, rather than respond in kind. And I think when we're addressing that issue, we're not going to process it in the same way as somebody that's in the mix of it. And you shouldn't expect us to do that.
So I can empathize, as a white dude, I can empathize with you and say the experience you've had as a black guy, but they're not my first-hand experiences, so I'm still going to process them differently, even if I can validate them and empathize with them. That's what you're saying. And I think the same goes through with these, even we're talking about this issue with Beth Moore and Patterson and all these other things. We have a perspective as guys, just because it's different, one doesn't make it invalid. But it's never going to be the exact same perspective, because all we can really ultimately do is empathize and look at it through the lens of Scripture, filter it through the truth of Scripture. But we can't fully. That's why we need women's views and their perspective, because they see it differently because of their experience. But it doesn't mean we can't address it, is what you're saying.
Or shouldn't be allowed to address it.
But just remember, we're going to always address it a little bit differently, because there is a difference. There's a genuine difference that we can't change.
And that perspective needs to be not discounted if it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong. To look at it, the totality of it, and we cannot possibly address every single. We don't have a thorough address of any single issue
On the show. Right?
on the show, and really no textbook does either. Anyway, so it depends on how thorough you want to get. We were simply myself anyway, but we were simply pointing out mainly some key areas in addition to those problems that need to be taken into consideration. And that's valid to do that. And that which does not dismiss the situation they're going through, someone goes through, or whoever's guilty, the guilty party, the innocent party, all of it doesn't dismiss that. We're simply talking about another factor that needs to be taken into consideration.
Different aspects, different approach, but that doesn't.
To help round out the discussion,
and that
not to eliminate the other side.
That's a key facet, because when you're in the mix of these things, your perspective flattens. You conflate everything. And really what we're going to do is we're going to tease it out, hopefully to its logical conclusion, and say, hey, this is sin. And it doesn't. And when we say it's sin, that doesn't mean that we're just trying to dismiss it and say, oh, that's sin, everybody sins. No, it is sin. And what do you expect from people? I'm sorry. Even from Christians, what do you expect? Cats meow, dogs bark, people sin.
I know when I first became a Christian, I went out to Bible college. I was stunned to find out there were sinners. No, I'm not kidding. No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not making it up. I thought I'm going to Bible college. I'll love the Lord. And as far as sin,
that's not unusual. A lot of people
that is
lose
very
their
common.
faith. It's challenged
very
because
common.
they think, oh, because I'm in a Christian school.
And when I came here and I met the two of you, I was stunned.
Christians can be so
Christians
cool.
can be so no.
I didn't know Christians can be awesome like that.
No.
I've never seen that. That's what they really
Yeah, that's
do.
right.
I know that's what you meant.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally what I meant. But it's
No, but it's
these,
really important.
These situations, we need to have grace for each other. We really do. I mean, goodness gracious. If we're looking today, and I know we're going to talk about this, if we're measuring what people said 10 years ago, I guarantee you, if you were to take the time and go through all these messages that are on the internet about divorce 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and consider them in the light of today, I guarantee you'll find more people who agree with what Paige Patterson said about divorce then than there are now. And to judge him for what he said then on today's standards is difficult. I'm not trying to go ahead of everybody, but that's difficult.
Well, so let's look at that transition then into the Paige Patterson thing and try to give the best summary we can. I know none of us has really jumped in and taken a full thing. I did print out this sort of chronology off this website. I haven't even read through the whole thing. So I will say up front that, I've not immersed myself in this thing, and it's full of details. And people, if anybody watching, I know we got quite a few on. Thank you guys for tuning in. But if there's other details you think are crucial, I see that's why I keep looking at my phone. I can see everyone who's live on there and watch it. Okay, it's like watching live.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And then even if they're not commenting, I can see
hello, everyone.
live. Yeah, so, but please comment. We have our TV up here. That's why we look over there sometimes. And these guys with good eyes can, I think, pretty much see the comments that come up on Facebook. I have to look at my
I can only see that Corey commented, but I can't read
Oh,
it.
okay. See, I can
He
see it.
said bound pamphlets.
Bound pamphlet.
He's criticizing mine as a
bound pamphlet.
But it looks as thick as his thesis now because he used that cheap
That's
paper.
pretty funny. I didn't see that, but I was like, oh, that's pretty funny.
But so anyway, so we're engaged with those comments, so we're open if we miss things to do that. So let me just say this. So what happened was Paige Patterson, who is was up until today. I think today was the vote. Or yesterday was the vote, so today's the first day. Was the president for Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and some comment had surfaced from 2004 and 2014 where he was dealing with the issue of spousal abuse and divorce and how it should be handled, and his advice and what that should be. Now, there's several issues at stake. One is he was apparently at one point telling a story about some teens, and they saw a girl, and he said that she was stacked or well built or something like that. And so it was sort of like why is this 60-year-old dude talking about a teenage girl who was well built or something like that? So that was sort of like, whether he was trying to get the story from the kid's perspective and trying to use kid lingo that was, I guess, maybe hip in the 70s, maybe he still thought that was hip in the 2000s, I don't know. I'm not sure what that was. So that was one of the issues. Some other, probably the more egregious one was this audio. Right before the show, I went and listened to the audio again. I read it, I heard it a while ago, but I sort of did a quick transcription here of this. So he was at a conference, and somebody had, because he had been involved with the Council for Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, and talk about differences between men and women, and how men are the head of the home, and women, wives need that word submit comes up all the time. And the question said to him was this. It says the media usually jumps on the submission issue and abuse. The women are going to be beat up and harmed physically. And he goes on, part of the question says, what do you recommend for women who are going under genuine physical abuse and their husbands say that they should be submitted? That was the question. Clearly about women getting beat up and harmed physically.
That's a fair question.
They're getting beat up and harmed physically. And what do you do for women who have genuine physical abuse?
But fair question. I mean, that is on the heart. That's on the mind of people.
Oh, yeah.
I know a gal who was dating a guy that was like that. Okay, physically abusive, and he would try to use scripture to manipulate her into submission. Yeah. Okay, so this is not out of
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah, and there are people to say, I think essentially kind of what he says, and there are some concerns. Here's his answer. First thing's come out. He said, well, it depends on the level of abuse to some degree. Two qualifiers, depends on level and degree. So it depends on the level of abuse and to some degree. The question was about purely physical abuse.
Right.
Meaning, well, my advice would depend on the level of physical abuse and to what degree. So for him, saying that some levels of physical abuse would have different advice on how they should respond. So that's the first problematic thing that people latch on to.
Okay, well,
He said, let me just finish this last thing and then I'll let Jim. It says this: I have never said in my ministry that someone should seek a divorce. I do think that is always wrong counsel. So that's sort of his two things we juxtapose in that. He goes on to say that only in the most serious cases of severe physical danger should you even counsel a separation. He says, for women in less physical danger, that's it, so they're physical danger but less than severe, they should not forget the power of prayer. Then he quotes this Bible passage, God saying, even if you, being evil, know how to give good gifts, how much more your Heavenly Father? So saying, hey, you got to model to your kids, that you trust prayer and God, and if God does
exegesis plays no role.
So he's saying to the woman who's being physically abused, if you, being an evil person, know how to give a good gift, like as in I think the gift of prayer and praying for your husband, how much more God will he'll find a way out of it. So he says God will eventually intervene if you're faithful. So stay home, even if it's less than severe physical abuse, but still physical abuse, and God will eventually intervene at some point in the future. And again, that was the summation of his comments.
And that's what got him fired today, because based on what he said.
Sort of fired, yeah.
Well, when was it said? 2014.
This one was the 2004 statement, and then the other 14 one was, I think, the girl.
I would say if you go back...
But he stood by these comments.
Yeah, I would say if you go...
Well, he said sort of I'm sorry if that image has been hurt and misunderstood, but I've always supported marriage and never counseled. That's sort of...
I would say if you go back and you look and you listen, don't believe me. Just go back and listen to sermons on the topic from that time. I guarantee you'll find people who are intoning. It's in the exact same thing.
I remember a conversation when I was a kid about never, going up thinking, you should never.
You only get divorced if it's sexual misconduct.
Only if it's
or
sexual,
if a non-Christian wants to walk away.
Right. Where
I don't even remember those caveats too much when I was.
Certainly Paul says if the person
maybe never said.
If the person doesn't want to be in the marriage anymore because you're a Christian, then be at peace. Let them go.
Right.
Now,
that's less common. You're right. That one's less common. I agree with that.
So, but 2004, that was common, and I can remember. I mean, I wasn't counseling a lot of people in 2004. To be honest with you, that was just at the very beginning. But when you get into marriage counseling, these questions of abuse are the most magnetic, the most trying, because you want to be faithful to what the Scripture says, and you don't think that this woman should be subject to this behavior. And I know for a fact, because the whole thing of biblical counseling is really, I venture to say, the whole thing of biblical counseling and really people being trained in biblical counseling, I don't know that was as prevalent in 2004. Or at least people were beginning to really get into it then. Because there's not a lot of biblical counselors. But I'm saying there's not a lot of biblical counselors at the church.
Well, what do you think about his direct comments? I mean, just that quote, obviously he has a whole life of ministry, and there's other things you can bring to bear now, but that question and that response, what's your thought on that question and that response?
I would never say to a woman that you need to stay home. First of all, as a kid, I grew up in a house with my dad. I grew up in that. I've seen my dad, and I'm being honest, I've seen my dad knock my mom out. My mom pioneered the large glasses with black eyes all the time. I remember that as a kid, so I would never counsel that because I've seen it firsthand. But at the same time, because the Scriptures don't give me leeway to say, you divorce over that, because I don't think that it's there. I would never counsel. I would counsel separation in that for sure, with the intent and the hope that the other person gets.
Would you counsel the woman to report that to the authorities?
Absolutely.
Immediately?
Absolutely. I've counseled men who've been beat up by their wives, whose wives wouldn't stop hitting them. You call the police on her, and the guys would never call the police out of embarrassment. But I say call the cops in a second.
For both.
For both.
So it's not just separate. Just
No,
try,
absolutely not.
No, so a trust but verify. Kind of thing.
Absolutely
So you're
not.
saying,
The government's there to help,
Yeah.
and that's part of the
so
role.
you count that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the right thing to do. I mean, no one should be.
I think part of the issue is the free nature of divorce in our culture.
Right.
And the lack of, well, sometimes, not always, sometimes the lack of quality of a relationship where a woman is told, can be told, and knows how many times this is a bad situation.
Right.
And so don't marry into it. But that's not always. I mean, there are women who marry guys that put on a good front and after a while in a bad situation. But all that aside, marriage is sacred, but so is she.
Right.
And so
Yeah, and I think that's worth rephrasing too. I think sometimes we value the marriage above the individual
yes.
in the marriage.
and we can't do that.
The marriage is sacred, but
Right.
like you said, the woman is also sacred.
Absolutely. Right. Created
So-
in the image and likeness of God Himself.
So abusing that woman, you're abusing God's child, God's somebody in His image,
Absolutely.
staying in that marriage. I mean, in that home.
Right.
I'm not saying counseling as a divorce, but staying in that situation for the sacredness of the marriage.
The marriage
at the
isn't
same time,
sacred.
you're giving up
Because he's
devaluing
saying,
the woman.
he
I'm
or she-
not saying he's saying that.
No,
I'm
but
saying
he
that's-
or she is
right.
saying that they don't value the marriage and they don't value you enough not to put their hands on you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they are saying.
Exactly.
They've
right.
already
And if they
devalued
wanted to
marriage.
remain in the marriage, then they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
That's a great way to phrase it. And I actually, reading all this stuff, I think that's never been said in this conversation. I've heard even the women talk about that, that are against this and abuse, right to be abused, all that stuff. But I think we've talked about before. The idea of human sacredness has gone so far from us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so missed in our culture, and even our Christian worldview, that I think that's sad that statement has never come out of any woman's mouth or pen or guy's mouth that I've read this week in this, because everyone's so fixated on either being pro or against him or right or wrong statements and abuse, but no one has ever said the reason the woman shouldn't be abused or tolerated is because she herself has sacred worth.
Absolutely.
And I haven't heard it said that way. And it shouldn't just be assumed that that's true. It needs to be said every time.
What's amazing about it is that they're adopting secular practices, principles, and views in order to
Who's that?
the people who are against this whole thing, or at least the people who push them out of the argument.
The first Paige Patterson
Yeah.
out.
They're adopting these views from the culture, and they're not. There's going to be a price to pay for it. There's going to be a price to pay for it because in marriage, everything is not as cut and dry as you think it is. I think back to, and I can talk to.
But of course, the abuse part is.
The abuse part is.
Okay,
But when I think back to my mom and dad, right? I love my dad. I love my mom. Obviously, trouble.
Yeah, we were just saying, you're like, you have to be covering your entire beautiful face from people they can't see.
Yeah, but I think back to my mom and dad, and my sister and I talked about this over the years, and after years of reflecting on this, I don't say that my dad was justified ever in hitting them. Never, ever. My sister informed me. My sister told me that Leroy, you did not know everything that went on in our family. Again, not just a justification, but an explanation. You did not know everything that went on and what got into all of this stuff. And I think people try to flatten these conversations into a one-size-fit-all answer for the problem. And unless you're counseling those people who are in it and you're trying to understand all the nuances that are creating this issue, you can't have a one-size-fit-all answer. And what Paige Patterson is saying there is true. I'm sorry. Let me say this.
I'll say this about a statement. Let me say this about a statement. I think that statement itself, his response to the immediate question, is a big fail.
Yes.
I think it's clumsy and
He's
awkward.
not, because he hasn't thought about it. He's trying to be whatever.
And because the question was specifically about physical, and then he tried to, there's gradation.
There's gradation.
And stuff like that. It's like, no, he should have said, look,
Right.
which he says in his
It's
clarification
later.
later,
Right.
that he would say, I would never tell a woman to stay in a home
Right.
where she's being abused. Never, it's cowardly for men to abuse. I mean, he's very clear that he would never justify or condone encourage a woman to stay in an environment where there was any kind of physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That little statement in its context, though, was terrible.
What he needed to say is, what do you mean? I would ask, what do you mean by abuse? For some people, listen. For some people, if I raise my voice 1 decibel, that constitutes abuse.
That's true.
And I felt that way when you raised your
I
voice.
know, but that's what I'm getting at. If somebody raises their voice 1 decibel, that counts for
true.
some people as abuse. And that's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that women need to be
abused
abused.
the way we do. It's like,
Right.
So you look at the culture. I don't know if we've talked about this before on other shows, but like the idea of sexual assault encompasses an unwanted touch, to actually rape. Rape.
And rape is even defined, even if it's consensual initially, and then they change their mind after, even during it. After, if they have regret, now you're guilty of rape.
Later regrets
So-
after the fact.
But then it's still considered rape.
So,
But still rape is.
but the confusion of language is what you're bringing up
Right,
is important because it's even if like saying, hey, well, that sure looks nice on you today. That if it's
Oh my God.
that could be sexual.
So what I'm getting
that's
at-
sexual harassment equal to.
I want to hear that from
Yeah.
him, not from you.
So what I'm getting at is when we try to parse the language in that way without being very precise and asking people what they mean. First of all, as a person who's answering the question, you set yourself up 14 years later to be a person who's counseling people that stay in abusive relationships. That's what you set yourself up for. But you have to get people to explain what they mean, and you have to answer what they mean. Because again,
And that doesn't happen on Facebook,
it doesn't.
Twitter. The nuance and the all the details of somebody's entire life is not boiled down to 140 characters or whatever they have to now. Whatever
Shit.
But it does.
You're
And
right.
that's what you're saying. I think is that problem is we as Christians have given into that, the Twitter judge and jury kind of thing. We're willing to take it out of context.
Can I say one more thing?
It's
It's really good.
hard.
And this is such a key conversation that we're having because, again, there's nuance here. I can remember this time my wife and I were counseling this couple, and this guy was cheating on his wife. And I think I may have said that here. This guy was cheating on his wife, and I remember my wife counseling that gal and really challenging her. And when we left the meeting, the counseling meeting, I was angry with my wife over this because I thought, she's the one who's been cheated on. She's the one who's been taken advantage of, but you seem to be very hard on her. And I wanted to know why, because I didn't understand it. And she said to me, honey, you have to think that even in a situation like this, and she said, you can't get there at the very beginning because people are not really willing to listen. But even in situations like this, you have to ask, how do people allow themselves to be put in that situation? Not as a means to say that they're guilty for causing it or that them being there is they're responsible. But you have to ask yourself, how do people allow themselves to be put in that situation? Are they random victims or are they victims according to their own choices? And you have to hold people accountable to the small part, even if the guy is 98% wrong, to the 2% part of them being engaged in it. So the role of victims, so they don't get in it in the future. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't help them see what part they may have played, then you're ultimately setting them up for future abuse again. So all these situations there, and I'm not saying the woman is at fault.
No. I saw a case. This is where I learned all about life is Judge Judy.
Right.
That's really important. And it was
And
funny.
you learn it quickly
Yeah.
and very clearly.
No, 30 minutes to solve all that problem. But I saw there's this video, this woman who was on there, like, he was abusive to me, and he was terrible, and so she's suing for this money, and he was all these other things. And she's like, I even have the video. And that's the video she provided from her friend who was there that filmed it. And they put in this video that she brought. And it's the guy is standing there, and he's just sort of refusing to leave the house. He just to leave. She literally comes up behind him, and he has barely said anything to her. Maybe he said some offensive words, don't get me wrong. He said some foul. They were kind of verbally going at each other, both of them. And she jumps up behind while he's holding the baby, and she's smacking him in the head, and she's doing this. And then,
no!
And then she calls the police on him
Right.
because she said he was abusive. And so Judge Judy's looking at this lady like, you are nuts. This is the video you brought me. You're the only one hitting anybody.
It didn't go well.
Yeah, it didn't go well for her. But it's that same thing. It's like, you could see that her goal was she was trying to bait him into hitting her back so that she could get a mark on her so that she could then do this thing. And he never gave in.
He knew it.
And, yeah, because her friends are videoing.
Uh-huh.
So she has a friend videoing.
Right.
But to hear her tell the story, I was afraid. I was so scared of him in the house. And she's saying all the things you're supposed to say.
Right.
But when you watch the video, she was giving as good as she was getting, trying to bait him into hitting her. When he didn't, she hit him, not in a way that would leave even a mark on him, but she was hoping he'd hit back because she's got a friend. So it's like nobody's scared. You leave, and your friend would be videoing. They weren't even calling the
You
cops.
wouldn't even have the video up in the first
So-
place. The whole point being is it's more, we want it to be so cut and dry. And abuse is. It is. You're getting someone. Some of these is. But it's not always cut and dry, and it's always right to get the facts and clarification so that when we say something, we're meaning the same thing, or answering the question as before us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you can do that. You can actually take this little guy's life.
Yeah. Well, here's the story he wrote in his apologies that I'll get you guys, because it shows some of the, I think, the subtlety of the one example he gives.
Right.
I mean, after he says, hey, I never, all the kind of things that I think are much more clear in this, that weren't in that original audio transcript. He's clear on here's that kind of stuff. But he says this: many years in West Texas, a woman approached me about the desire for her husband to prevent her attending church. The husband didn't want her to go to church. He was neither harsh nor physical with her, but she felt abused. So there's that word abuse that you guys have both brought up. But he never said anything like raised his voice, and he never was physically abusive. Just she felt abused because he wouldn't let her go to church. He said, I suggested to her that she kneel by the bed at night and pray for him, because he might hear her prayer. I warned her that he could become angry over this and seek to retaliate. Subsequently, on a Sunday morning, she arrived at church with some evidence of physical abuse. She was very surprised that this had happened. So this was unexpected to all of us. So he never counseled her to stay in a physical situation. But I had seen her husband come into that church and sit down at the back. I knew that God had changed this man's heart. What he had done to his wife had brought conviction to his heart. And he says this: I was happy, not that she had suffered from his anger, but that God had used her to move her husband to conviction of his sin. I knew that she was going to be happy for him also. That morning he did make his decision for Christ public before the church, and she was ecstatic. They lived happily together from that time on in commitment to Christ. There was no further abuse. In fact, their love for one another and commitment to their home was evident to all. She herself has often shared this testimony. So that's one of the more nuanced things that he's, I think, still got criticism for in that thing. But go ahead and I want that to be the sort of framework to give advance some of that.
Absolutely. I think probably what we're saying though, that people are innocent until they're named publicly now, and so that's part of the problem. If this was an issue, why didn't it come up in 2004 or 14? 4 for this one, right?
Yeah.
It was 14 years ago. Where did the woman herself have a problem with this?
No, I think somebody just came up with these audio, and somebody, and I don't know if it was Christians or not or whatever. I know that there's a big election coming up, and I don't know if there's Christian politics and power. I really don't know.
I think Beth Moore.
It's probably in this little article on the time.
I heard there was a Beth Moore.
Beth Moore tweeted it out that made it viral. something that
But I think that was after. I don't.
From what I understand, her writing about it took it, made it viral.
Okay.
And again,
Definitely.
I'm not trying to castigate her. I'm just saying we cannot take our cues from the world when it comes to these issues.
Well, we're not satisfied until there's danger.
Yeah, we cannot take our cues from the world. And you know, I can recount multiple counseling sessions where things don't look. When you listen to people, you listen to people's actual stories, things don't look and they don't sound good, and they're just messy. Because people are messy. But you need to be clear-eyed, and you need to know what the scriptures teach to help people navigate.
Like Holly said, one person sounds justified until another person speaks.
And most of the counseling sessions, believe it or not, were women beating on men. I'm telling you, it is more of an epidemic. It's more of a thing than you think it is. And men not hitting their wives back and not knowing how to handle it, not knowing how to wrestle through it. That sounds crazy. It's crazy to me, but I'm telling you. And all the time that I was pastoring in that place, I never saw one issue where a man was hitting a woman. I never saw one. I saw multiple issues where women were beating on men. And I've always counseled all the men, call police, call the cops.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, they'll straight up and fly right after a night in jail. Call the cops.
I think the other thing that's being missed on this, and you guys alluded to this earlier, is I think Patterson, for all his value he's brought to the Southern Baptist Convention and to listening to me, he's been a stalwart, I guess, of conservative resurgence within that, and that's what people all support him. I think some of the phrasing of his things is awkward sometimes. I don't think he's fully, says things in a way that, like, he's a little bit more tin-earish for the current culture.
For the current culture, right?
Like, even the segment I read, he's like, I saw it and she had a black eye, but I was happy. It's like, you can't say it that way.
You can't say it that way.
I know what you're saying. Don't say, not that she was abused. Don't qualify it afterwards. Don't lead in it. There's certain issues because of the way they're going to be read. You just
okay. Wait, let me ask you a question on that. If I'm listening to what you're saying, are we really destroying a guy on the way that he said something?
No, I'm not at all.
And I know that you're not. I know that you're not.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, are people really willing to destroy people on the way that they heard something?
Yes.
Versus the substance of what they meant.
And
that is wild.
Because perception as feeling determines reality in our culture. And it's even doing that for Christians. That's the downside of the whole thing. Is like, because my perception is you meant this, I will not accept your clarification. I'm offended, and my offense determines that there needs to be a punishment, needs to be immediate. It's the victim culture mentality where, and we've talked about this before. The Bible gives us a pattern for offense. If somebody's offended, you go to them first. If they're not willing to repent of their sin, then what do? You take 2 or 3 people with you. If they're still not willing to repent, you go to the elders of the church. And if there's no repentance, then you turn them out of the church. You turn them over. And I think that could include, hey, we've done this. Here it is. The world can see that this is what you're doing.
And what should have happened to that guy is Matthew 18. He should have been given a chance to repent and then move on.
But it did not.
But they did not.
And that's the thing, because we live in a victim culture that we rely on third-party groups of some kind, whether it be the government or social media
or the mob,
the social media becoming the mob, to then exact our justice. But that's not a biblical response to that. Now, if the guy remains unrepentant and he's, I don't know the name of that, and I don't know who went to trial there, not just to qualify.
I'm just saying, the question here is, if we're prosecuting a guy on what we perceive as a thought crime, or not even thought crime, because there's no evidence that he actually believed that women should be, that it's great if women are abused. He's actually said something inartfully. That's what he said.
That's my take.
He said something inartfully, and now because he said something inartfully, he needs to have his picture plastered on the front of newspapers across the country, and his words splattered without context under his name, and then hung out in pillory and post. That's a scarlet letter.
Yeah. That's absolutely
true. That's not where we're to be as Christians. It is not where we're to be as Christians today. It is not.
To the the seminary say why they can't be?
No, they did not. Well, so just to be clear, the seminary basically they removed him as president, and they made him president emeritus, and he's still living on the campus at cost, and he's still receiving some sort of emeritus public salary of some kind. And so he was like, well, as president, but he's president emeritus, so it's sort of, he's still living here, he's taking a paycheck, he just has no other responsibilities, and he's just not going to be the face of what we're doing.
And I've never heard of the guy until, I only heard of the guy in passing,
Although I've connected with Southern Baptist Church, I've planted a couple, I've never had any real history in that, so I'm not a scholar in Southern Baptist history, and so that's why it's hard for me to know. That's why I get the names of all these places. But I love the people I've met out west here. I think they're well learned about Jesus, but I don't know a lot of the politics and people and power players.
Couldn't tell you. It's just interesting to me. It's just interesting that we're really there in the church. I was gonna write a blog about it, but I'm gonna bow to counsel and not write it. I was gonna name the blog. Are you going to church? Hashtag. Are you going to church? Question mark. Hashtag. Me too. Because that's exactly. We can't go to the scriptures and adjudicate right and wrong on the basis of scripture. We have to take our cues from the culture because, of course, the culture is so much wiser than we are.
That's the fear. And that's no longer. We're using a biblical principle, but letting it be adjudicated by the culture, not by the rest of scripture.
Well, but of course, it's the twisting of the biblical principle, taking it to an nth degree, where if you're guilty of a little bit, you're guilty of all of it.
Most biblical says if you committed one sin, broken one commandment, you've broken them all. That's biblical.
That's pretty biblical, but that's applied by the Lord, not
context.
A little problem there, but it's the same culture that will demand moral relativity for themselves personally, but turn around and demand objective morality for everyone else. Right. And there's a big problem there.
What you said about the thought crime thing made me think of this story. I've been holding this for months, and I was going to float away. It came up today. It says, London police edit thought crime threat after ridicule online. Just the beginning of the story says, people can be charged, they said, with an offense if their actions are within the law, but their reason for doing it are perceived as illegal hate by others. That's what their actual officials. So even if they have not broken the law, we can charge them with the crime. If their reason for doing whatever they did is perceived as offensive to others, then they withdrew the claim. And they have the screenshot of their official police aide that had that on it. They quickly
grabbed that.
Got rid of that.
Didn't mean that. But someone grabbed it.
But think about what that's saying is. Even if they didn't...
Is it legal to think about what it's saying?
Yeah.
Are we okay there?
Well, we're not in London, so we're safe right now.
So far.
But it's exactly what you said. They're saying even if they committed no crime, if the reason for posting it has caused an offense in somebody else, they can still be charged with a crime because somebody else was offended. That was the police department saying that. The legal standard is not whether they broke the law, but whether in their heart they violated somebody else's
department making law, or that law comes down from
their
legal
decision of how they would arrest somebody.
Wow. So because the law in our country anyway, the law is the law enforcement is supposed to uphold the laws, and someone else makes the laws. It sounds like they're the judge and jury right there on the issue of it.
It's the idea of a hate crime which we have. We have that here.
Right.
Right. That okay, you didn't commit an actual crime, but somebody perceived your statement as hateful.
The motive
was hateful. Therefore, well, but this is to your point though, and I think this is what we have to be careful of. Again, we have to step outside of Patterson's situation a little bit here because outside of these, none of us is an expert on him.
I don't know the man.
People are trying to. Here's the thing: people are you defending him or are you attacking him? That's as complex as their thinking gets. And it's like, are you defending him? No. Are you supporting him? No, I'm not doing either. Yeah. I'm just saying we can learn something from this. And therein lies the root of the problem. If people will say, oh, well, you're supporting him. I'm not. I don't know enough to support. I don't know enough to condemn him. But people want to say, oh, well, I feel hurt by this, and therefore this needs to be he needs to be let go, he needs to be whatever punished. And that's what I think Christians are in many cases buying into, that idea. It's about, he doesn't get the chance to repent, he doesn't get the chance to clarify. Nobody's willing to accept the clarification. The defense has already been granted, and therefore because somebody's offended, you can't come to them and say, as the Bible would say, if you're offended, go to them. Get forgiveness. Allow
No. You're supposed to get 14-year-old tapes and bring them.
Therein lies the problem. Is that the Bible acknowledges offense is real.
Yeah.
We can be offended. And there's nothing. That's true. The culture didn't invent the idea of offense.
Right.
But the Bible also gives a way to reconcile after the offense. The culture has no way to reconcile except through public humiliation, loss of job, loss of status, whatever that takes.
Their goal isn't reconciliation.
It's not reconciliation.
Yeah.
It's punishment.
Right, exactly.
It's vengeance and punishment.
And if this was meant, this should have been something that was done out in the open. It should have been discussed so that people, because we ought to be more mature. We ought to be able to hear difficult things. We ought to be able to discuss hard things out in the open. Doesn't mean that we trample out all the negative stuff, but we ought to be able to discuss that within the church. People ought to be able to say, hey, I disagree, and not be pilloried because they disagree. People ought to be able to say, no, I don't see it that way. You need to help me understand it. And not be castigated because they don't immediately agree. And we ought to hold people accountable who are pressing on some of these ridiculous ideas into the church. We ought to name them, and we ought to hold them accountable because ultimately, if we don't, there's a harvest that is going to come from this that will.
Because all the people that are jumping on this, as the big
because
he said something,
and their ideas and their motives are not all pure.
Bad,
right?
Therefore, he has no right to employment.
Right.
Well, while we're finding applaud from the world, that's so good, you're so good at this. The same people making these, going this step and letting the world adjudicate it, to anybody, to whether Beth Moore treats it out or not, she still believes in Jesus is the way, the truth, and life, and no one comes to the Father but by me. She still has orthodox theology. That's still an offense. So you're saying that my faith, Islam is wrong, or that's wrong, or this is sin, or being homosexuality is sin. She, Beth Moore has no right to have a job, and that will become the night. So we have to be careful that we adjudicate this biblically and not do what's the easy thing. Not ignore wrong. Not give a pass to wrong.
Not justify it or explain it away.
Not justify it or explain it away. It needs to be confronted.
Really wrestle with it.
It needs to be condemned, confronted, and given the opportunity for reconciliation. But that opportunity for reconciliation, yes. We're doing the condemning and the judging, and we're doing that part right. But that's the wrong. We're not doing the rest of the way. It's wrong for us. All right. Well, we're about out of time.
Any problems that you have, you should probably take a reward. Because
yes.
you made all mistakes in this episode.
It's my role.
But I still believe you're entitled to a job, even though you make numerous mistakes after numerous mistakes.
I don't know. Listen, I have some complaints.
Some complaints.
Just some.
I have some complaints about it. I was in his office complaining today. I was teaching.
Uh-oh. So, is there a lighthearted thing we should end on? We can do it in like a minute, or no?
Let's see. Do I have another lighthearted one?
No, go to the one that we talked about earlier.
We'll go back to that one?
No, the one that we talked about with the family and court. And,
this one?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm out of the loop, so you guys
know. Okay, all right. So
we'll close with this.
So here we go. More family things.
Okay.
So
good advice for families again. No, this advice, not say good advice.
This is good advice.
This is. So they're basically, it's a 30-year-old man who was living in his house and didn't have a job, and his parents said, "Okay, get a job or get out." And they gave him a 2-week notice for eviction. He ignored it. Gave him a month notice for eviction. He ignored it. They said, "Well, we'll do whatever you have to get out of the house." And then it was a 3-month? It was a 3-month notice. And then they took him to court. And the judge said, get out of the house.
The crazy thing was, the good that he's going back and forth. Well, the parents didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
They offered him money to leave.
Right, they did, yeah.
They offered to pay for his car or whatever, just to get him to go. But when the crazy thing is, when the judge called him forward, he tried to take the podium with the microphone and everything up to the front with him. He's not,
They're not all together
He
there.
claimed to have a really good job, although his parents have never seen a dime of the money and don't know what it's so. But he filed for the court to pay for his stuff because he is a poor man's. There's a low income or poor man thing, so he didn't have to pay. He didn't have to pay for the court fees. But his parents said that they'd give him money, but he didn't want that to reflect on him, so he had to pay for the court fees. So he didn't do it because they could apply for court fees, but he had a job. This guy was a poor guy. So anyway, poor
Oh,
parents.
that's crazy.
Poor parents.
Well, crazy times ahead. All right, we'll wrap it up. Somebody
Listen to
next
parents.
Wednesday.
Good job.
Yeah,
Next Wednesday, 2:00.
join us. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All day.